So, we want to welcome you, as Danisha said, to our session on Health Talk. Danisha will tell us more about DRD as usual.
So we are DRD Natural Health. And if you are new here, we do health talks every Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. If you're unable to make any of the live health talks, we have a Facebook page. It's called DRD Natural Health, where we post our videos. We also have a YouTube channel with the same name, DRD Natural Health. And you can go there, watch the videos, send them to your friends, and you can catch up on the old videos as well. You can email us if you want to reach us at drdnaturalhealth@gmail.com. And you can also contact us, and we will put our contact number in the chat for you. We also want to let you know that this session is being recorded, and we also want to give a little disclaimer before we start. So the information that we're sharing with you this evening is for educational purposes only, and it's not intended to diagnose, prescribe, cure, or treat, or replace any recommendations from your healthcare professional. So with all of that said, that's all the admin stuff done. I think we can, before we get into it, welcome again. We're so glad that you've decided to join us this evening. And we hope that, you'll learn something from what we have to share with you this evening. So
Okay.
let's get into health talk.
This evening we are looking at rest.
Rest.
Wow. A lot of us
Mm-hmm.
need a lot more sleep.
What do you mean?
A whole lot of sleep.
We're not getting enough sleep?
We're not getting enough sleep. And that's what the studies have shown, right? That persons are not getting adequate rest. So it is important to get adequate rest daily in order for the body to function properly. And this includes sleep and quiet time, have some quiet time. There's no rushing, no hustle, no bustle, just quiet time and rest. So as we look at rest, we can also look at the fact that there are different types of rest. And while we will not go into them specifically, but we just want to mention that there is spiritual rest, there's mental rest, social rest, and physical rest.
Okay.
And we have some questions as well that we want to throw these questions out there.
Wait, before you get to the question, so which one of these are we talking about this evening?
In particular, it would be physical rest.
Okay.
It would be physical rest. And so we'll throw these questions out there. You don't have to answer us, but just as we go through the presentation, then you can see if it applies to you, if any of these questions apply to you. What time do you go to bed? How long does it take you to fall asleep? What time do you wake in the mornings? Do you feel refreshed when you wake up? And do you take naps during the day? Those are very important questions that all of us need to answer.
Yeah, so we're hoping, like my mom said, as we're going through, you'll be able to answer these questions and maybe figure out things that you'll need to change in your sleep schedule in order to have better and more sound sleep.
Right.
So just a brief overview of the sleep stages. First, we're awake. Then when we go to bed, there's stage 1, and that's our lightest stage of sleep. And that lasts 1 to 5 minutes, right? So not very long. But then we go to stage 2, which is an even deeper level of sleep. And this is where the heart rate slows down and the body temperature drops. This lasts about 25 minutes. Then we have stage 3, which is our deepest level of sleep. This is when it's hard to wake up. You know, when you try to wake someone up
Yeah.
and you're shaking them, and they won't get up. They're in stage
Deep
3.
sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the important thing about this part of sleep, or this stage of sleep, is this is where repair happens. This is where your tissues regrow. This is where you rebuild your bones and your muscles. And this is where your immune system is strengthened. And especially during this time, we can see the necessity of sleep.
Yeah.
And then after that, we have REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep. This is when, you do most of your dreaming. The body is usually paralyzed in this stage. And it starts about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. And then the body just cycles through these stages again.
Okay, that's very good to know. And I'm sure most of us can identify with, trying to wake someone and they can't wake up, and you're thinking that maybe, they're pretending, but they're actually in deep sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at some of the symptoms of poor sleep. And if you want, you can put some of them in the chats, what you think are some of the symptoms of poor sleep. And while you are getting ready to do that, we will talk about a few of them.
Yeah.
So there's irritability. Wow. You did not get a good night's sleep. You wake up in the morning, you have short fuses, right?
Yeah.
The least little thing will get you going. And when normally it wouldn't have happened if you had enough sleep, right?
Yeah.
So there's also memory loss. Persons, you're trying to remember things, you can't remember it because you did not get enough sleep.
Then we also have depression. When you don't sleep, your body is basically running on low, right? And so when people are depressed or experiencing that low mood, it could be because they're not getting enough sleep. Because when we sleep, that's when our body repairs. That's when we regain our energy to take us throughout the day. And so when that energy is lost, when we're not getting enough sleep, it can cause us to have low mood.
That's right.
We can also have fatigue. Same thing, no energy if you don't sleep, and then throughout the day you can't do anything because your energies weren't built up while you were sleeping.
That's right. Aggression. Even in children, there are some children that will stay up late at night and they will experience, or they will show aggressive behavior. And it's not because that's how they are, it's because they want to sleep. And if persons are students, then there's the difficulty for them to concentrate. It's hard. They can't remember, they can't think clearly because they are sleep deprived. And there is the diminished ability of the body to repair and restore, and thereby being able to prevent disease. So if the body cannot repair or restore itself, then it's hard for the body to fight disease.
And this is why sleep is so important. And I really want everyone on this this call this evening to realize, we all know, yes, we need to get enough sleep, but sleep is really important for repair. And like my mom just said, to restore and then to prevent disease. And so if anyone on this call is struggling with any sort of sickness, you need to be, looking at your sleep habits. So we can't talk about sleep without talking about the circadian rhythm. I think we mentioned last week or the week before that our body works on a clock.
Yes.
Right? Our body loves to have a schedule. And so we're talking about the 24-hour biological clock, or sleep-wake patterns, right? And so when light hits our eyes, that helps to set our body clock, right? And then darkness is sort of like resetting the body clock. So in the day, the body likes to have light, and at night, the body does not like light, because when there's light, as you'll see later on, then that will affect our nighttime hormone that we're going to talk about right now. So what is the name of the hormone that's released when we're sleeping? Oh, okay. Maybe we should ask them in the chat. What's the hormone that's released when you're going to bed or when you're sleeping? Does anybody know?
Okay. All right. Maybe they know, but they're fumbling to get the chat
to type it out. Yeah, okay,
maybe. All right. So it's melatonin.
Yes, melatonin. So melatonin is made in the pineal gland, which is in the brain, but a lot of people don't know that it's also made in the GI tract, right? And so that already tells us how the body is so interconnected, because whatever is happening in the gut can affect your sleep can affect your gut. Right. So they're both very important. Yes. And so melatonin, it's low during the day, but at night it's released and it increases, right? So melatonin is actually made from other components. So tryptophan, which we can get from foods like sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, tofu, right? And soy products. Yeah. So the tryptophan from those foods is changed to serotonin, which is like our, happy hormone. And then that serotonin at nighttime becomes melatonin. And so melatonin is secreted every day. And like we said, it's released in the dark. And so as we're going to talk about later on, we want to have a particular environment when we're sleeping to promote the release of melatonin.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. So melatonin is therefore very, very, very,
very, very important
when it comes to rest.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So now what we want to do is we want to talk about the relationship between melatonin and some diseases, some common diseases that are very prevalent in our society. So what's the first one we're going to talk about?
Diabetes.
Diabetes.
Yeah, that's one that we had looked at before.
Yeah. But we didn't talk about the melatonin aspect. So melatonin actually binds to the pancreas. And the pancreas has these cells called beta cells, and they secrete insulin. And we know that with diabetes, there's insulin resistance, right? Now, when you have enough melatonin, it preserves the insulin sensitivity, which means that your body is able to respond to the insulin that your pancreas is making. But when you have low melatonin, it's actually associated with an increased risk in type 2 diabetes and increasing insulin resistance. So if you're someone that's struggling with diabetes or insulin resistance, another component that you can add to your plan is sleep. Getting proper sleep, yes, because that will help to sensitize the body to insulin.
That's right. And while we're not looking at all the medical conditions tonight, but sleep is really, it impacts just or at least good sleep, restful sleep, almost all medical conditions that we can think about. So we have melatonin and cancer. And melatonin as a powerful antioxidant in the body will scavenge through the body and will get all the free radicals that are there and will get rid of them during the night while we're sleeping, which is why when we go to bed we need to ensure that you know, or the windows are open,
Don't give
as
it,
we
don't give
mentioned.
away everything yet.
Okay, all right. And with the melatonin working the way it should, then we have slow progression of
Mhm.
cancer. And
Yes.
all of us have cancer cells in
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
However, because our immune system is working at its optimal,
Mhm.
then we don't have to worry.
Yeah.
But if it's a case where we're not getting enough rest,
Mhm.
and a lot of us will go to bed, but we're not resting,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mhm. Another thing we want to talk about is how melatonin or how sleep deprivation affects the brain. So, like we mentioned before, it affects your focus, your concentration. It affects your ability to adapt to different situations. You notice when you don't have enough sleep, you can't make good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom mentioned, it affects your emotions. Some people can become more aggressive or angry. It also increases reward seeking behavior. So this can lead to things like development of addictions, right? It increases risky behavior. And another important thing is because it affects how you make certain decisions, it also affects the types of foods
That
that you
you
choose to
choose.
eat.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, sleep deprivation affects your focus, your concentration, your ability to think clearly. And then you end up eating food that is not good for your body. And then that leads to more disease down the road.
That's right.
Right. So
Yeah.
we really want to focus on getting enough sleep, and that will help us to make better decisions.
Right. And we need our brain to
Mhm.
make every decision
Yeah.
that we're going to make during the day. So it's very important that we're
Mhm.
getting enough sleep. So let's look at sleep and Alzheimer's. You want to tell us something about that one? I
Yes.
mean, a
So
lot of people believe that, oh, once you get older,
mhm.
then you must have Alzheimer's or
Yeah.
dementia. But
Mhm.
is that supposed to be?
Well, let's look at it. So, Alzheimer's, when you have Alzheimer's, well, first of all, it's only diagnosed with an autopsy, right? And it's the accumulation of those beta amyloid plaques, right? And of course, this affects memory in older individuals. Now, these plaques, when you have these plaques, they affect your sleep and they affect your ability to lay down memories, right? Now, there's a type of lymphatic system in the brain called the glymphatic system. And this, I know it's a funny name. And so this system, it works while you're sleeping, and it's like the garbage crew cleaning up. And what they found is that it eliminates waste, including beta amyloid plaques, right?
Wow.
So obviously if the Alzheimer's has been, or if the person has dementia for a long period of time, sleep alone may
Will
not,
not. Right.
yeah.
Right.
But this is like in the initial stages, if you recognize it and you're like, okay, let's start working with the entire body, let's focus on the sleep aspect. Sleep can definitely help to eliminate the waste, eliminate those beta amyloid plaques, and distribute the healthful things that the neurons need.
Mm-hmm.
So sleep is very, very important, even for the older adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So sleep and hypertension. That one, we know, just as was mentioned before, all those things that are happening if we are lacking sleep, the blood pressure would normally drop during sleep.
Yeah.
And when persons are going to bed later, you realize that those persons usually have a higher reading when they do their blood pressure check.
Yeah.
So you need, again, because you need the rest,
Yeah.
right? You really need the rest. And sleep deprivation is associated with hypertension, especially during middle age, right? So when persons are young, they're in school or college,
Yeah.
wherever, stay up late and,
Mm,
burn the
yeah.
midnight oil.
Yeah.
And then they're getting older and they realize that I'm having all of these different
Issues.
symptoms or
Yeah.
issues. And that's because sometimes what I did, years
Mm-hmm.
before. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to be mindful um, that with a lack of sleep
Yeah.
comes certain medical conditions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is so true.
Hmm.
So true. Another thing we want to talk about is sleep and shift work.
Oh, wow. This is a hard one for a lot of people.
It is. It really is. I mean, our, like we said before, our bodies work on a clock, right? And so when the light comes in, the body's like, okay, it's time to be awake.
Yeah.
When it's dark outside, the body's like, okay, it's time to sleep. But when
Mhm.
you're doing shift work, it's flipped.
It's the reverse, yes.
Yeah. And so now the body has to, you know, recalibrate and like, okay, I need to be awake at night and
Mhm.
asleep in the daytime.
Right.
And so people that do a lot of shift work, they really need to work on other components as well to support their body because they're not getting those
Yeah.
healing properties
During the night,
and the proper
yes.
release of melatonin during the night.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And for persons working shift too, they will go home and they'll sleep a shorter time. So
Mm-hmm.
they may sleep 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And when that happens, they're not getting the rest that they need because um, for adults, you need so many hours of sleep,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
7 to 8 hours for an adult each night.
Yeah.
So if you are working the night shift, pray to get a new job.
Or do your best. Do your best with what you have. You know, it's hard for a lot of people, and you know, we're here to support you. We are here to support you.
um, well, what they can do too when they go home during the
Mm-hmm.
day is there are blinds
Don't give
that.
away all the
Oh,
tips.
okay, okay,
Stay till the end. All the tips are at the end.
okay.
Okay. She's so eager. Okay, so let's talk about sleep in men.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, testosterone declines with age, right? And the majority of testosterone is actually released during sleep. So the amount of sleep that you get or that men get is directly related to their testosterone levels.
Mm-hmm.
And also, sleep apnea is also related to low testosterone, right? So we want to ensure that, you know, a man might be having testosterone issues, but you don't just want to focus on the testosterone.
No,
You want to focus on the entire
everything.
picture,
Yeah.
right? And another thing is sperm are very sensitive. So going to bed late will actually affect the health of the sperm, including sperm motility. So
Mm-hmm.
how fast they're moving, or are they moving around in circles, not knowing where to go? So we really want to make sure that our men are getting enough sleep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So we also want to make sure the women are getting enough
Yes.
sleep as well.
Women, ladies, we need to get our
Yes.
sleep.
Oh, yes. There is a melatonin receptor
Mm-hmm.
on the ovaries.
Can
right?
you believe it?
So we need to get sleep.
Need to get
And,
sleep.
it's very vital as well to regulate our female sex hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects the quality of the eggs, just as
Mm-hmm.
how it affects the quality of the sperm in the men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it increases progesterone
Yeah.
in women. It also affects the fertility, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
cycle length, and that can also lead to miscarriage. So
Yeah.
if you're not getting enough sleep, then
Mm-hmm.
that could also be a factor. And it is a natural sleep is a
Mm-hmm.
natural antioxidant and
Yes.
tumor suppressant.
Mm-hmm.
As we had mentioned before, you're
Yeah.
getting enough sleep, then most times when we have a cancer, it starts from a tumor.
Mm.
So it's very important that we get the sleep we need right there. And women who are going through perimenopause or menopause should also ensure that they're getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, even if you might be saying, "Oh, I've already had kids," or, I'm not thinking about having kids, if you're going through perimenopause or menopause, sleep is still very, very important.
Yes.
And there's also a study that was done on beauty sleep. Like, is beauty sleep really a thing? Yes, it is. They deprived people of sleep and they found that they were less healthy, more tired, and less attractive, right? So, sleep, like when you see someone that hasn't slept, you can just look at them and
tell.
you can just tell.
Yes.
You just know when someone is tired, when they're
Mhm.
stressed out because they're not getting enough sleep or they're having trouble sleeping.
That's right.
So now we're actually gonna get into the good
The
stuff.
good part. Okay, this is the part I was jumping to long before.
Yes.
Now.
So we already talked about, things that can go wrong, how melatonin and sleep are related to different diseases. But now we want to talk about a nighttime routine. Things that you can do every night to ensure that you're getting enough sleep for your body.
That's right.
So what's the first thing?
So the first one that we want to look at is go to bed early.
Early. How early?
Go to bed early. We should be in bed. We should try to be in bed by 9 o'clock, asleep by 9:30. Right? If 9 o'clock is too early, try to be in bed at 9:30. Because if you're gonna get up at 5 o'clock, then you would not have gotten enough sleep.
And how many hours of sleep do we need?
7 to 8. As adults, we need between 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Every night. And that is when our melatonin starts to release as well. It starts early in the night. A lot of people think that, okay, I can go to bed late and I'll be fine. But no, because the melatonin, when you go to bed, say at 12 o'clock, then you have lost 9, 9, 9, 9:30, 9:30, 10, 11, 12. You probably have lost 3 hours worth of melatonin, and you're just at the top, and melatonin is now ready to go down. So it's very important to go to bed early. Another thing is that you want to go to bed at the same time every night. And you want to, as best as possible, wake up at the same time every morning as well. Again, we're creatures of habit. And there's a book, manuscript release. So 7 manuscript release, page 224. It says 2 hours good sleep before 12 o'clock is worth more than 4 hours after 12 o'clock.
Can you say that again?
So if you go to bed early, every hour before 12 is counted as 2 hours.
Wow.
So 2 hours before, every hour before 12 o'clock is worth more than 4 hours after 12 o'clock. So 2 hours before 12 is worth more than 4 hours after 12.
So it's really important for us to go to bed on time. And like my mom was saying, melatonin is released on a curve, right? So it starts being released by about 10, and then it goes up. It sort of peaks between like 2, 3 a.m., and then it starts to come back down. So if you're just going to bed at 2 a.m.,
then you're not getting any melatonin. And, we can say, oh, but I've been doing that for years and I'm okay. But it catches up with us over time. Our bodies will cry out, and that repair that should have taken all those years that did not happen, then we have, different medical conditions down the road. Okay.
And another thing to say to that, our bodies are very resilient.
Oh, yes.
And our bodies will do as much as it can to ensure that everything is working properly.
Yes.
But there is a limit, right? So like my mom said, you might feel fine right now. You might feel like, nothing's wrong. I'm healthy. But, if you keep going down that path, after a while, your
After a
body will
while,
crash.
your body
Yeah.
will cry out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And another thing too is that some people will say, maybe not necessarily for sleep, but for maybe food or whatever. Or what my parents did that, and
Mm-hmm.
they lived
Yeah.
until,
Mm-hmm.
not taking into consideration the fact that their parents ate um, organic food
Mm-hmm.
because they planted it themselves.
Yeah.
Their parents went to bed early.
Mm-hmm.
Their parents walked, so they got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of exercise, so
Mm-hmm.
you can't look at the fact that your parents did it, so it's okay for me to do it too.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Right now, when we look at our food,
Mm-hmm.
there is hardly anything in the food that we eat
Yeah.
unless we're planting it ourselves. So let's bear that in mind.
Mm-hmm. So another thing we want to share to encourage you to have a good nighttime routine is no caffeine, right? So caffeine has over a 6 to 12 hour half-life. So that means that when you drink caffeine, it takes 6 to 12 hours for only half of it to pass through the body,
Wow.
right? And caffeine is very stimulating. And rest is not stimulating. Rest is the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to reduce the amount of caffeine that we're intaking, especially before bed,
That's
right?
right.
So that we can have restful, sound sleep.
I remember a friend of mine. I spoke to him last week. Time is
Mm-hmm.
going by so quickly, and I reminded him about the very first time he drank coffee.
Yeah.
So he never drank coffee before, but he
Mm-hmm.
was doing an exam,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to stay up to study for this exam,
Ah.
and he drank coffee. And the next day he was laughing at himself because he just could not fall asleep after
Wow.
taking just one cup of coffee that
Wow.
evening.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very, very stimulating.
Yes.
Yes. And that includes other teas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate,
Yes.
green tea, black
Mm-hmm.
tea, those teas as well will do the same thing to you, and any other coffee substitutes that you have. Yeah. So alcohol as well,
Mm-hmm.
some persons at nights they will, drink their red wine or whatever
Yeah.
wine or beer or whatever alcohol. That is something that you do not want to have late either. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, you don't want to have it
At
at
all.
all.
Yeah.
It disrupts the circadian rhythm, and the liver
Mm-hmm.
has to process all of that, and that alone
Yeah.
can keep you up during the night.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to touch alcohol at all.
Yeah. Another thing is you want to go to bed on an empty stomach, right? So like we spoke about in I think our second video,
Mm-hmm.
if you eat a big, meal, that'll take 5 hours to be digested, right? Now, if you're eating that big meal before you go to bed, what's happening is that your stomach, your GI tract will still have to work through the night to
Mm-hmm.
digest that food. So while you're trying to rest, your digestive system is still working, and then you wake up the next day groggy,
Yeah.
fatigued, no energy, and that's because your body was working at
That's
night.
right.
So we want to encourage you, if you must eat before bed, eat at least 3 hours before bedtime, and it should be something light, right? So like crackers or a fruit, nothing heavy, because that will affect digestion, and then that will affect the quality of your sleep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're close to bedtime and you're hungry, then
Mm-hmm.
you can drink some cold
Yeah.
water. Remember, our stomach does not like cold,
Mm-hmm.
anything cold in it. But at this time,
Yeah.
if you drink some cold water because there is nothing else in
Mm-hmm.
there, then it will the feeling of hunger will go away.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
What else? So water. Sometimes people drink a lot of water or drink a lot of tea before bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then they realize that they're waking up during the night
Yes.
and they have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. So that is disturbing their sleep.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because we want you to sleep through the night. So what you can do, like we mentioned in our previous video as well, is time yourself and say, okay, if I drink water at 8 o'clock, will I still get up during the night? And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe go back, if I drink water at 7:45, will I still wake up at night? Right. So
Right.
just go back
Yeah,
slowly and see, okay, what is the latest time that
I
I
can
can drink
drink.
water without having to get up through the night? And if you're still doing that and you're waking up through the night, then maybe consider, going to your doctor to see what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another reason why they could be waking up too is if they're drinking the water too fast,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
then that will cause you to wake up. So you need to drink the water slowly
Yes.
and ensure that it is absorbed by the cells as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just gulping the water down.
Yeah.
Hmm. We don't want to be doing any strenuous exercise before bed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we exercise late, when we exercise, we're exercising because we need energy, and
Mm-hmm.
we're giving fuel to our body
Yeah.
to keep us going through the day, which is
Mm-hmm.
why it's best to exercise in the mornings,
Yeah.
because it's like a ticking clock that's winding down
Mm-hmm.
until bedtime. So when we get to bedtime, you don't want to exercise because that is going to keep you up,
Yeah.
right? So ensure that you're not exercising anytime close to bedtime.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is no news before bed. A lot of people now are watching the news.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, the news, it induces stress, it induces anxiety, it's very stimulating. And that is the opposite of what we want, right?
Right,
Like you
right.
just mentioned, we want to be winding down, we want to be relaxing. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we watch news or listen to the news before bed, it can be
It
too,
stimulates
yeah,
us,
yeah, it's
yes.
too
And
stimulating.
when you go to bed,
Then
that's
you're
what's
thinking about it.
yes, that's what's on your
Exactly.
mind. Yes.
Exactly.
So there are some other things that we could do
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that we have a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And one of them that it's very simple
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy,
Yeah.
and I think we can all do it,
Mm-hmm.
is a hot and cold shower.
Oh no.
Wow, I tell you that when you're done, you're saying, bed, here I come. Okay, if you don't want to do the hot and cold, you can do a hot shower.
I'll take the hot shower.
You can do a hot shower, and at the end, you can just do a cold rinse. How about that? A
Yeah,
cold
yeah,
rinse
I
is
could
good.
do that.
Yes, and that is very good. It helps to relieve tension and it helps to bring sleep on. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing that, ensure that when once you're finished, you're going straight
To
to
bed.
bed,
Yeah.
because it helps the body to heal
Mm-hmm.
and while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
You can also do the Epsom salt bath,
Mm-hmm.
and that will also help to relax you as well.
Yeah.
There are some persons who will do the magnesium spray,
Mm-hmm.
because magnesium in itself, will cause you to relax.
Yeah.
And dry skin brushing. Tell us about
Mm-hmm.
that one.
Yeah, so they sell these brushes, and you can get like natural bristle brushes, and it's basically to help the flow of lymph in your body,
Mm.
right? So the way you do it, you start from your feet and you brush up towards your heart. So you brush from your feet, your legs, your thighs, your stomach, and then so you're doing the front and the back as well, and you're doing it in circular motions, and this promotes the circulation and the movement of lymph, and it's very relaxing.
So when are
And
you doing this?
so you're doing this, you can do this before you shower. You want to do it on
Okay.
dry skin, not on wet skin, because as you're doing it also, you're sloughing off any dead
Dead
skin
skin.
cells that
Mm.
are on the surface. So you can do it just before you shower on dry skin. And if it's your first time, don't do it so hard, because those bristles can be a bit hard at first, but as you keep doing it, they'll get a bit softer.
She got me one of those brushes some time ago, and it's the
Yeah.
first I'm hearing that I should start from my feet up. So she just gave it to
I
me.
didn't give any
And no
instructions.
instruction. Well, one instruction. She said, "Don't use it on your breast."
Oh yeah,
That was
don't
the
use it
only
on your breast.
instruction she gave me. And I usually start at the top.
Sorry.
I start at the top and I brush all the way down. I mean, that's how I shower. I shower from the top. So now I
Okay.
learned that I should do it up because the lymph, that's the
Yes.
direction that the lymph moves,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I learned something tonight.
Okay, I think we
Okay.
might need to speed it up. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Here's another one. Turn off the Wi-Fi or
Mm-hmm.
the router every night.
Yeah.
You know, it's strong in the house and it disrupt the waves or brain waves
Mm-hmm.
as we are sleeping, and or phones, you put them on airplane mode
Mm-hmm.
and leave them in another room,
Yeah.
leave them downstairs, wherever,
Mm-hmm.
leave them somewhere else
Mm-hmm.
other than in your sleeping area. So that's very important too, and something that we don't think of sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Another thing is, limited screen time before bed. Ideally, you don't want to have any screens before bed,
Hmm.
but we know sometimes things happen. And the reason this is that our devices, your phones, laptops, tablets, they give off blue light, right? And so the way the retina or your eye recognizes blue light is when it sees blue light, it's almost like, think of the sky. It's like, oh, it's
Hmm.
daytime, it's time to be awake, right? But that's not good at night. You don't want that at night. So they do have red light filters. And so what this does is the when the red light hits the brain, it's almost like, when I think of red, I think of like, a nice fire at
Yeah, or
night
the
or the
sunset.
sunset.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like preparing you to go to bed.
Hmm.
So you can also, if you're not able to buy, blue light blocking glasses, some devices have red light, have filters on the phone that you can use just before, like if you're using the phone before
Once,
bed,
yes.
you can have those filters on your phone or on your screens.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some common activities that we can do, right? We can do
Yeah.
a devotional reading,
Mm-hmm.
a journal. We can journalize, a gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that that is very good because you're being thankful and it
Yes.
allows you to think about the good things that happened to you during
Mm-hmm.
the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and we just want to set up a calming environment, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that your body can start relaxing.
Yes.
Another important thing is sleeping in silence.
Oh, yes.
I can't go to bed if there's noise. I just like it to be nice and quiet, because when there's a lot of sound, that is stimulating too.
Yes.
And your brain processes everything that comes in through your
Mm-hmm.
senses, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're sleeping, you want to have silence, nice, quiet environment.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can't help it, right,
Mm-hmm.
then you can get your earplugs
Yeah.
and put those in, which
Mm-hmm.
will help to keep the noise out,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I couldn't understand initially, that I should sleep in a cool room.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that our rooms should be at 60 degrees
Mm.
Fahrenheit,
Wow.
at around 60 degrees Fahrenheit when we sleep. And I couldn't understand it then, but I understand it now because,
Mm-hmm.
it helps us to fall asleep
Yeah.
and to stay asleep,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it does not affect or sleep, any of
No.
our sleep cycles or sleep stages.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be cold,
Yeah.
you're covered, but the room itself
Mm-hmm.
should not be hot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And heat increases wakefulness and it decreases the REM cycle,
Mm-hmm.
which is that rapid eye movement cycle.
Yeah.
And the peak in melatonin is also associated with a drop in the body temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to ensure that the room is cool.
Yeah.
And one way to do that is to just ensure that we have fresh air going through the room at all
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
Okay, just a few more things. Sleeping in a dark room. So, like we mentioned earlier, melatonin is produced at night when it's dark, right? So, we want to ensure that our room is dark so you can get those dark curtains.
Yes.
What are they called again?
I don't remember, but they I know they block the
They
lights
block the
out.
light, yeah, so no light
It's
comes in.
thicker. Yeah.
You can wear an eye mask if you need to, because you don't want any light coming in like under the door or any street lights coming in. So you can wear an eye mask as well, because we really want to promote the release of melatonin, which happens in the dark.
The dark. Remember that it happens
in the
the
dark.
dark. And there's some persons who cannot do sleep without a light in the room, or maybe even a night light.
Yeah.
Put it in the passage, and then put your
eye mask on.
Your eye mask
yeah.
on. Yeah. Okay.
So, like we've been stressing, we really want a good sleep environment. And so that includes the rest of your room. So you want to ensure that your room is comfortable, your room is inviting. Sometimes you might not be sleeping well because your mattress is old, or your pillows aren't
changing.
Yeah, they're not fluffy enough. And sometimes your room can be untidy and
too many things.
Too many things
just
going
clutter,
on.
There's books and bags and pans and this and it affects your sleep as well. So
we just really want to promote a peaceful environment.
Sleep environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
now you want to find your motivation. What is it that in this life that will motivate you to want to go to sleep early, right? And one of them is that we will want to live longer.
Yeah.
Right? It will allow us to live longer. And maybe for some persons on the line, they may want to be around long enough to play with their grandchildren.
Yeah.
They want to prevent some lifestyle diseases. For some persons, they just love feeling good when they wake up. So that's another reason why you may want to do that. And we are never too old to learn. So we're constantly learning, and that could be a motivation too. If I am alert, then I can learn quicker. And you get your beauty sleep every night. Every night.
Every night.
And you will feel real good when you wake up in the mornings.
So wait, I want to ask you, what's your motivation to go to bed early?
I just want to have a good life without disease. Wow. I don't want to have any lifestyle diseases that I can avoid. I will do whatever it takes to avoid that lifestyle disease.
That's good. That's really good.
So, are there any questions? Or you've been very quiet this evening?
Any questions for us?
Any questions?
Well,
you can unmute if you're not, like, for those persons on the phone, or you can put in the chat.
Yeah, while they're typing, if they have any questions, I was gonna say one of my motivations is, when I learned that there are melatonin receptors on my ovaries and that it can affect egg quality, I said I need to be getting all the sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think since there are no questions, it must mean that everything was clear. And they understood everything that we shared about the importance of getting good sleep. And the different things that we can include in our daily routine to help us sleep better at night.
That's right.
Because like we've showed this evening, sleep definitely impacts all aspects of health. And it can really be, one of the things that can bring restoration and bring, repair and prevent, those lifestyle diseases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you have any questions for tonight? Usually we ask a question or two, and if persons are interested in having a 15-minute consultation, it's free. Then if you answer the questions correctly, questions or question, then you can contact us. And we did give out our phone number or email address. Okay. We'll put again, our contact information in the chat, which is drdnaturalhealth@gmail.com. drdnaturalhealth@gmail.com. Okay, so someone is saying that if they go to bed at 9, they will wake up at 2. And that, I guess when they wake up at 2, I'm going to assume they maybe have problems going back to sleep.
Wait, let's not assume. We want to ask questions. So how do you feel when you wake up at 2? She can't go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep. Okay. The ideal is to get to bed on time, right? At 2, that's when melatonin is
it's at its peak, and then it's about to come down
at 2
a.m. Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, there could be a few factors why this person cannot go back to sleep and very tired in the morning. That's right. Maybe the amount of activity during the day. So, for example, someone who works very hard, like physical labor, that person will sleep right through the night because they're tired. And this is where exercise comes in. Fresh air comes in, and fresh air needs to be going through the room as well, because that helps you to have very good sleep. Deep sound sleep you'll get when you have fresh air. And if the person wakes up, then with the fresh air going through, then you could do some deep breathing. Deep breathing from the abdomen, and you should go back to sleep. You should. But during the day, try to be as active as possible during the day. No napping during the day, because that will affect your sleep as well. And see how that works. I'm not sure if you have anything else to add.
I think what I'll say is, as you can see, it's not a simple answer, right? Because if someone is not getting, if someone's going to bed at 9 and waking up at 2 and still feeling tired, you really want to look at the entire person, their entire picture. So like you mentioned, exercise, water, right? What if there's some things they're missing from their diet, right? So we want to look at everything, and we can't always just give, a blanket statement and say, okay, this is the issue, this is what you need to fix, right?
And someone is commenting that, which is true, if you do have a lot going on in your mind, you'll think, I don't have anything happening in my mind, but whatever happened at work today, then I'm thinking about it, or I'm thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing tomorrow, or some business transaction in the future, or just life in general. And that is enough to keep you up. A few weeks ago, I had something on my mind, and when I went to bed, I would go to bed my regular time, but I just couldn't fall asleep because this thing was playing over and over and over in my mind. So that's another thing too. It's good that we have a cutoff time every day when we stop doing everything. You're home and you say, okay, 6 o'clock, I'm just going to relax from 6 to my bedtime, or 7 o'clock, whatever that time is.
But thank you for sharing. And if you want more tips on how to sleep better, you can always contact us. Our email is in the chat. And I think I have a question. that we can close off with this evening. Okay. I was gonna ask a simple question, but
Yes, ask
maybe
a
ask a
simple
simple
question.
question. Okay, I'll ask a simple question. And like my mom said, we are offering, free 15-minute consultations. And this is like a discovery call to see, do we fit with each other?
Yes.
Are we able to help you with your concerns? And if not, we can always point you in the right direction. So here is the question that no one answered earlier, right? What is the name of the hormone that's released when we go to bed? First
Okay.
person that answers,
Ah! Good
All
job. Good
right.
job.
Tony said melatonin. All right.
All right,
So
Tony. So
we
you're
will be in
on.
touch with you.
Yes.
And we thank you for participating this
Mm-hmm.
evening. Thank you for joining us again.
And we want to remind you that you can contact us again from the email address. Invite your friends and your family. And also, the information is on YouTube. So, this
Mm-hmm.
video will go up by Sunday. It will be on YouTube. So, you can invite your friends to watch the videos
Yeah.
and to get the information because it is important
Mm-hmm.
information for us, especially in this time
Yes.
when we don't want our immune system to be to we want our immune system to be strong as we
Mm-hmm.
go through this pandemic that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is Rosetta and Donisha at DRD Natural Health, reminding you to start your journey
Towards
towards better
better
health
health today.
today. See you next week early and at the same time, 7 o'clock.